First home buyers in New South Wales will be given the option to bypass stamp duty and pay an annual tax, with the major reforms set to start next year, immediately prior to the state election. The highest debt New South Wales has ever seen has also been revealed as part of today's budget. But the state is on track to return to surplus by 2025. Danica DiGiorgio was in budget lockup and joins us now. Danica, Treasurer Matt Keane says it's about reform and assisting with the cost of living.
Kenny, the budget today was based on 5 key economic reforms, including increasing workplace participation, lifting productivity and assisting families. Almost $40 billion in pre-election sweeteners had already been announced prior to today, and it is a big spend. It really is a pre-election pitch ahead of next year's state election, and it's going to come at a cost. Today we learnt that every student in New South Wales will receive a $150 back-to-school voucher. The program will run from the 1st of Jan next year for 6 months. It can go towards the cost of school uniforms, shoes, bags, textbooks and stationery, and it will be made available via the Service New South Wales app. The key pillar of this budget, though, is a $2.8 billion investment in housing and helping first home buyers into the market. The state government has announced this as an option for first home buyers only to bypass stamp duty and pay a broad-based land tax. So for those who opt in, they will pay an annual levy of $400 and a 0.3% tax on the value of their land in exchange for avoiding that stamp duty. This is on properties worth up to $1.5 million, and those eligible will be able to opt in from January 16 next year. Women, though, are certainly a key focus of this budget. $5.6 billion will be invested over 10 years. That includes increasing workforce participation, making childcare more affordable and accessible, particularly in southwestern Sydney, and a number of women's safety and access to health services have also been announced. I did ask the Treasurer today if this is simply just a ploy to win back the women vote that has seemingly been lost since the federal election.
We know that participation rates between men and women are about equal till about the age of 25, and then the gap widens as women have children.
A big spend on children and childcare as well. $5.8 billion over 10 years for universal free pre-kindergarten and $1.3 billion in fee relief of $2,000 per child if they attend any mobile preschool in a long daycare setting. In terms of energy, $3.3 billion to secure energy supplies over the next decade and $1.2 billion in net funding for transmission upgrades for renewable energy zones in a bid to avoid a crisis like what we have seen over the last few weeks. New South Wales, though, faces a future dogged by debt due to this record spending. A lot of this budget is being bankrolled by coal and resources, and it is still incumbent on assistance from the federal government. In terms of the fiscal outlook, net debt is to increase by almost $106 billion by June 2025, so that's almost doubling, and the budget deficit is set to reach $11.3 billion by 2022 to 23. Despite this, though, New South Wales is set to be back in the black in the next 3 years. The Treasurer, though, says he's not being reckless with debt.
The best way to get debt under control is to make sure you return to surplus, and that's what this budget does.
Kenny, the Treasurer says that workforce participation will simply pay for itself, and a number of savings will be made over the coming years, particularly by 2025, when a number of COVID initiatives and flood help will be wound back.
Danica, thanks for that. Danica DiGiorgio there live at State Parliament in New South Wales.